What's crack-a-lack, it's your boy Broshmo, just in case you did not know so, and this is the Waiver Wire Pickup Show. Maybe you're on to the next round of the playoffs, maybe you're just trying to get your money back. Regardless, let's take a look at some popular, some good waiver wire decisions you can make to help improve your lineup this week in the playoffs. Before we get into that, go ahead and leave a thumbs up if you enjoy the content and become a bro and subscribe. It's much appreciated, much obliged. Be sure to share the videos if you enjoy them, of course. And yes, I'm gonna leave a poll up in the community tab. I had a buddy that reached out to me. He does some merch he does some shirts for one of my other friends. He's on Twitch, exp323, so check him out. He does Rocket League content, but he did some shirts for him, and he asked if I would like that, and so I'm gonna leave a poll up in the community tab if that be something you're interested in. So be sure to check that out. I also will have a bowl prediction video up next week. That takes a lot of time doing the overlays on some of that stuff, so I'm going to be working on that today as well. I'll have a running back rankings video for the 2020 NFL draft this week, because I mean, why not? Let's just start with running back. It's such a divisive opinion on running back, so let's go and talk about it. I know y'all like talking college football and draft and all that, so we're gonna do that. And yeah, I got a mock draft coming out probably Tuesday or Wednesday next week. Remember, every 2 weeks I do a mock draft, so be on the look for that. Without further ado, let's go ahead, let's get into it. We're starting with quarterbacks. I'm starting with Ryan Tannehill. The man's been on an absolute tear. He continues his impressive streak. I mean, since he's become a starter, he's scored over 20 points in every game but last week's or the week before against Indianapolis. Yeah, his scores have been nuts. 23, 22, 28, 23, 30, 38, 32, and he had that one 18-point game. But next week's also a good matchup for him against Houston. They are 29th against opposing quarterbacks, so that's probably a better matchup than most of your starters. So I would implore you to take a look. And if you're really in a tight bind, you can't get Tannehill, Derek Carr's not a bad get this week. I know Derek Carr isn't the sexiest picks. He doesn't take shots downfield. He doesn't really offer big play potential. But the matchup is huge against Jacksonville, who has laid down the last 5 games for every quarterback that comes their way. Derek Carr, he did end up scoring 22.5 in half PPR leagues. So there's a little viability there if you are really desperate. But let's move to the running back position where, man, you're really scraping the bottom of the barrel here. But Adrian Peterson, now with Darius Guice potentially out for an extended period of time, he will get all the carries. So there is a little upside to that. It's a tough matchup against Philly. They're 7th against opposing running backs. But like I said, he will get the volume, so not a bad flex play at that. Raheem Mostert, it looks like they're just going to keep incorporating him into the offense. You know, I'm not too afraid for Matt Breida to come back, because Tevin Coleman looks like he's starting to be put on the back burner. The 49ers, they like going with the hot hand, and if Raheem continues to play at that high level, continues to be just a monster. He scored 25.5 in half PPR leagues last week. So, and it's a so-so matchup against Atlanta. They're pretty decent against opposing running backs, but still I like him there. And then if you're really needy, if you're in deeper leagues and really need it, Patrick Laird from the Miami Dolphins, fins up, baby, fins up. He's been pretty decent. He's been a pretty fine flex option the last 2 weeks. The Giants are 20th. That's who they face this week. The Giants are 20th against opposing running backs. And Patrick's touches have been pretty impressive last 2 weeks. He had 14 against Philly, and then he had 19 against the Jets. So at least you know he's going to get a lot of the carries. But before we go on, hey, I'm going to be streaming live on Twitch tonight, some point tonight. So be sure you check out that. Enough with this. Let's go on to receivers, because there are some quality receivers out there. We're gonna start with AJ Brown, because I don't like having tight end player. Like, you can't trust tight end players, you know, or at least receivers or tight ends, because be fair, Tannehill, he spreads the wealth. But the one that has been just a big play monster has been AJ Brown. He has been phenomenal. He's got a great matchup against Houston. They're 19th against opposing receivers in half PPR leagues. He scored almost 31 points last week, so he would be one of my top gets. And right up there is Darius Slayton. And it looks, out of nowhere, he was the most successful, the most, most productive, let's go with that. Most productive receiver last night when Eli Manning, of course, started the game. Looks like Eli will start again. And to be honest, Darius Slayton, he has a knack for performing against good matchups, and he has a great matchup this week against Miami. They're 31st against opposing receivers, so I wouldn't be opposed to putting Darius Slayton in my lineup. Now let's go to San Fran, because I actually got a couple of San Fran players here. Deebo Samuel, I'm surprised he's available in a little more than half of fantasy leagues, so I think he's a good get. They got a good matchup against Atlanta. They're 22nd against opposing receivers. His targets have seen an uptick. I mean, he had 8 last week in that shootout against New Orleans. So I wouldn't mind Deebo as a flex option. And then there's Kendrick Bourne, who in deeper leagues, mind you, deeper leagues, it's not a bad get. He is definitely a part of their receiver trio. No more Dante Pettis, no more Marquise Goodwin. These are the 3 guys that they typically put on the field. He had 4 targets last week, but two of those went for touchdowns, so there's a little upside to him. And then, of course, my favorite from last week was Zach Pascal, and he delivered. Granted, not till the second half, but he delivered nonetheless. He's got another great matchup against New Orleans, who just got beat up by those Niners. So I think Pascal will be a fine option, as well as Marcus Johnson. But I would favor Pascal just because he sees more targets than Johnson. So let's talk tight end, because let's be honest, tight end's a tough thing to project. I'm starting with Noah Fant here. Noah Fant was really good, and it looks like Drew Lock likes going to his tight ends, because it's not like he only had 4 targets, but his knack to break off the big play, he's the most big play tight end on that team. So if you really want to take a shot, Noah Fant, and they're in a great matchup against Kansas City, who's 26th against opposing tight ends. So if you want to take a shot, Noah Fant's not bad. Tyler Higbee might also be a sexy option there, just because if Gerald Everett's still out, they got a good matchup against Dallas, who's 21st against opposing receivers. The Rams, they've been incorporating the tight end more and more into this offense. So I like the matchup. I like Higbee. And then Ian Thomas, man, as long as Greg Olsen's out, I think he might, I'm not sure if he's out for the rest of the year, but just keep an eye on that. They got a great matchup. Seattle, 31st against opposing tight ends. You saw what Higbee did to him. So Thomas has a lot of upside. He has garnered those Greg Olsen targets. Last week, he had 10 targets. So that's a good stat line. That's good potential. That's good volume. You want to bank on volume, especially at the tight end position. Oh, and we got OJ Howard back here. Oh, man. They got a decent matchup against the Lions this week. OJ Howard, I know he's been a bit of a bust in the past, but the main reason he's on this list is because his usage goes up, his volume share goes up, because Mike Evans is doubtful for this next game. So there's a lot of upside there, and against Detroit in a game that could be very, very high scoring game. We already know Tampa likes to have the high scoring games themselves, so just something to be on the lookout for. Tight end, it's hard projecting tight ends. Tight end climate, it's extremely crazy. I mean, just taking a look at the top 10 tight ends this year, I mean, there's some names you wouldn't expect, like the Darren Waller, the Austin Hooper, Jared Cook. Jason Witten is right now the number 10 tight end in fantasy football. So it's a tough thing to project, but that's why we're here. That's why I'm here, to help you win fantasy games. But that's it for the video. Go ahead and do the YouTube thing. It's much appreciated, much obliged. And until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.